Job was a man respected by everyone around him. He was honest, kind, and faithful to God. He had great wealth, a large family, and a peaceful life. People admired him not just for what he had, but for the kind of person he was. But in a realm Job could not see, a spiritual test was about to begin. God spoke proudly about Job, calling him a man of true integrity. Satan, however, argued that Job was only faithful because his life was easy. If everything were taken from him, Satan claimed, Job would quickly abandon his faith. God allowed the test. Everything Job owned could be taken away, but his life could not be touched. The disaster happened all in one day. News came in waves, each message more heartbreaking than the last. Job learned that thieves had killed his workers and stolen his livestock. A strange fire from the sky burned all his sheep. Raiders stole his camels. And then came the most devastating message of all. A violent wind had collapsed the house where all 10 of his children were gathered, killing every one of them. Job fell to the ground in grief. Yet even in his pain, he did not blame God. Instead, he reminded himself that he came into the world with nothing and would leave the same way. Whatever he had only because God had given it. The accuser returned, frustrated that Job remained faithful. He asked permission to strike Job's health. God allowed it, but still protected Job's life. Soon, Job's body was covered with painful sores from head to toe. He sat in ashes, scraping his skin with a broken piece of pottery. Even his wife, overwhelmed by their suffering, urged him to give up hope. But Job refused. He accepted that life includes both good days and hard days, and he held on to his integrity. 3 of Job's old friends came to visit him. When they saw him sitting in misery, they were so shocked that they sat beside him for 7 days without speaking. They barely recognized him. When they finally spoke, their attempts to comfort him were misguided and painful. They believed that suffering only happens to people who have done something wrong, so they insisted that Job must be guilty of some hidden sin. They pressured him again and again to confess to something he hadn't done. Job defended himself. He admitted he wasn't perfect, but he knew he had lived an honest life. He couldn't understand why such tragedy had struck. He asked hard questions. Why do wicked people often prosper while he suffered? Why had his life fallen apart despite his faith? Job longed for a chance to speak with God directly to understand what he could not explain. After a long silence, a powerful storm formed, and God spoke out of the whirlwind. God didn't give Job a reason for his suffering. Instead, he asked Job questions none of humanity could ever answer. God reminded Job of the vastness of the universe, the foundations of the earth, the stars in the sky, the oceans, the storms, and the mysteries of creation that no human being could ever fully comprehend. In that moment, Job realized how limited human understanding truly is. He had been demanding answers without grasping the bigger picture of God's power and wisdom. Job confessed that he had spoken about things far beyond his understanding. Before this moment, he had only heard about God, but now he felt as though he had truly seen him. After speaking with Job, God rebuked Job's friends for their harsh and incorrect assumptions. They had spoken wrongly about God and about suffering. Job, however, had been honest, even in his confusion and pain. God restored Job's life. Not only did Job recover, but he received double what he had before. His wealth increased, his land prospered, and he and his wife were blessed with more children, 7 sons and 3 daughters who grew up strong, wise, and beautiful. Job lived for many more years. He saw his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and even the generation after that. His life ended in peace. The story of Job teaches a timeless truth. We may not always understand why suffering happens, but faith, integrity, and humility can carry us through even the darkest moments. And in ways we might not expect, God can turn pain into purpose.